All right, guys, how's it going? It's the Eastbayanglers. Today, we're going to go ahead. We're going to talk to you guys. Right now, it's winter time. It's cold. We're going to talk about how to fight the cold. We're going to talk about, you know, 30s, 40s, as far as temperature goes, 30, 40 degree air temp and 30 to 40 degree water temp. When you're fishing in that cold, the colder times of the year, winter time for the most part, most regions in the world, it's going to be difficult to say the least. I'm going to tell you guys the way it is, whether you're bass fishing, trout fishing, catfishing, fishing for just about any species of fish, with the exception, I'm talking freshwater. So with the exception of saltwater, when the storm comes in, it does, as it comes in, bring some pressure and sometimes shut down that bite really, really hard. But that's actually a good thing because there's a full swing and, that bite comes back around really, really good. So generally, like as the storm's coming in, I don't really, or as the, get different cold snaps in the winter, as that stuff's coming in, I will fish, right before, I'll fish after, and sometimes during, depending on, how intense we're talking. But generally, I like to really push it, standing on points in 30, 40 miles per hour wind. I'll do that. And a lot of times that's because there's gusts, up to 30 and 40, but you've got a lot of wind around the 20 or 18 mile per hour. Sometimes it does pause for just a moment. Fishing in those conditions can be extremely productive. You can do really well. When it's raining, every single drop of rain creates oxygen. So when it hits the top of the water, it's oxygenating the water, which is kind of giving all the fish in the body of water that you're in a real kick. I guess it would be it's kind of like a human being with an oxygen machine, getting some pure air, some deep breaths and stuff of that nature. But we're talking about, when I'm out there and I'm fishing on a point and there's 30, 40 mile per hour gusts, one of the ways that I stay warm is I layer up, but I'm wearing layers of waterproof clothing as well as performance clothing. Some of this clothing, like I've got, let me break it down really quick just so I get to it. So if you're talking like, your upper layer, I generally go with a thermal that, on the base layer. Next, I'll go with a performance shirt, which is meant to keep the heat in, usually long sleeve. And then over that, I'll put 1, 2, sometimes 3 vests, and then up to 2 jackets after that, one being a polyester and wool, one being a very fine waterproof jacket. I have another waterproof jacket that goes over that just for those, mainly it's just a rain jacket and stuff like that, goes over that. So that's for my upper body. I've got my neck gaiter and I've got a hat, usually a secondary hat for when the first one gets wet and I'm just tired of wearing a wet hat. A beanie potentially if you like beanies. You're gonna want to definitely bring, wear leggings. You're gonna want to wear leggings when you go and fish at this time of the year. You're gonna want to wear up to 3 pairs. I'm gonna let you guys decide. I have like 9 pairs, different sizes, and I've got one that's wool. I've got some that are polyester, and I've got a couple that are a blend. But layer up. And I usually wear up to 3, usually 2 to 3 this time of year. And then I'll go ahead and wear a pair of underwear over that. After that, generally get into some really warm pants or, you know, bibs, waders. So you're going to want to wear 2 pairs of socks a lot of times in the winter. And this is going to allow you to, well, just be more comfortable, and your feet get cold. Sometimes, little distractions of little comforts that, distract you are really the difference, between catching and not catching. So having warm feet, one pair gets a little bit wet, you can always take the outer one off. But I'll tell you guys, wear waterproof boots in general, and hand warmers are good to put in the jacket pockets. There's some electric hand warmers that they sell on the market, which are pretty good. And on top of that, there's obviously, just keeping a spare towel. If you're on a boat or something, that's a lot easier. Or just keeping a towel in the truck so that when you get to the truck, you can kind of dry off for a second and, get dry. But in general, layering is key. You're going to want to find a lot of these performance clothes because you're able to layer up and they're so thin. For the most part, it just allows you to create a lot of, to create a lot of warmth. And when it's wet and it's windy, or it's just cold in general, it's going to cut through you. I mean, when there's 29, 33, 40 degree temperature outside and the water temp is, say, 39 to 41 degrees, you're going to be, you're going to be cold. So another way you guys can really keep warm when you're fishing is going to be basically bringing some kind of a device, something you can, I know somebody that had a electric heater that was waterproof and ran on independent source of power. Can't remember if it was batteries or if he charged it, but basically this thing was like a kind of a natural heat source, and he would stand by it in the boat. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure what he paid. I bet you it was a pretty penny, and there might be a converter or inverter and a bunch of other accessories you might have to acquire, but that's pretty cool. And another thing, guys, when you're fishing and you're cold, try to fish in the sun. Try to find some sunny areas. In general, that's what the bass like anyway. So try to find some of those, if there is sun, when it's cold out, try to be at least, in it. But you guys, one of the things I hear a lot of people say is, how do you stay dry? There is kind of a catch-22. Even with everything that I'm talking about, when I go out in some serious conditions, I mean, that first jacket that's on the outside, if I'm wearing all of them, it's gonna get wet. It's gonna be probably drenched, soaked, even though it doesn't collect water, and then the jacket underneath will be somewhat damp. And then, of course, I have like waterproof vests under that, and also maybe another jacket. So, yeah, I mean, there's layers, and, rain has a tendency, especially in the wind, and cold in general air has this, a tendency with the wind to kind of blow around and kind of get in little nooks and crannies that kind of normally wouldn't be an issue. But dealing with that cold can be distracting, and that's really the thing is when your hands are cold, that's the last thing we talked. Forgot to talk about the hands. Okay, so if you guys are trying to keep your hands warm, one of the things you really need to do is invest in a pair of iMac gloves. Matter of fact, you should probably get 2 pairs. and I usually wear those. And I've got some other HUK gloves, and I've got some Under Armour gloves. I've got a bunch of gloves, and that's so that I can use them in those conditions, and that as the conditions, you know, I see what's going on. If they get wet, I've got an extra pair. It's no big deal. Put another pair on, you know. Sometimes, you know, your hands are cold. Bring a towel. Bring a little face cloth if you don't have a towel when you go on your walk. Little things like that actually really, you know, make the fishing trip a lot more bearable, because that's really what you're doing is, you know, you're taking on that cold weather. And usually when there's cold weather, there's potentially wind, lots of it, and rain, even snow. So, you know, just keeping warm is going to keep you focused. Keeping focused is going to catch more fish. That's the principle here. But I hope you guys learned something. Hopefully we're just, you know, helping you guys get on more fish. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more.